What if the version of you've been chasing is actually the one you've been trying to return to all along? The one before the noise, before the burnout, before you started shrinking to fit a life that never really fit you. This isn't about starting over. It's about returning. Returning to your soul, returning to your truth, the version of you that has always been meant to be. Each week, we're going to offer up real stories, hard-earned wisdom, and practical tools from powerful returns to help you reconnect with who you are and why you're here. I'm your host, Bryan White, and this is The Return Project. Hello, Carolina. It is a pleasure to get to sit down with you today. I am excited to dive into our conversation. We were talking a little bit before we jumped into recording here and really getting to know each other. But now we get the chance to dive into your story of how you became a mindfulness and meditation coach and the areas that you walk through and how your life transitioned and changed, yet how you were able to really return, as we talk about in these stories, and create the space that you're in now. So, Carolina, I would love for you to walk our audience through how it all began. What shifted in your life that created your journey?
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Brian, in this beautiful space that you are building, like we were talking about before we went live. Yeah, I guess there's so much that we can share with the world after our own experiences and journeys. And I guess for me, what I want is the most is to really contribute, even if it's a little bit, to relieve the amount of suffering and confusion and overwhelm there is in the world today. For me, I think, like for many people, something has to happen, something like a life event that changes it all. And it wasn't different for me. I had a normal life, I guess, a privilege, I guess, because I had my family, my marriage for many years, and really grew up in a loving space. So I I thought I had the perfect life. I always strived to be the perfect role model, perfect friend, perfect wife, mom, worker, you name it. I was really living guided by expectations that I had created in my mind that I had to meet. So it was a constant strive and never checking in, just constantly doing what I thought led me to be a perfect wife, etc., etc., etc. So until at a point in my life, 5 years ago, my marriage broke down. So things didn't work anymore. And that love that was there in the beginning, or I guess the part of feeling in love wasn't there anymore. And so my marriage broke after I didn't know myself without being a wife and being together then. So that was very hard for me. I thought I found myself in really sort of shaky grounds. But then sure, after I hadn't even processed the separation, what it meant with my kids, my mom was diagnosed with a terminal cancer out of nowhere. That was a bit of a shock too. And my mom has always been my anchor. I lost my dad when I was 14 years old, and my mom just took over and was such an amazing role model in my life and guide and North Star and the person I went to for everything. And she had all the solutions to all of my problems, and the world was going to be always okay because my mom was there. And this was really, yeah. So everything that I thought was fixed, or that I thought that I could count on forever, wasn't there anymore, because she passed away shortly after, just a couple of months after. And so I was left in the dark. I didn't know what was real anymore, what I could hold on to in my life anymore. And I started really questioning what life was about, and why are we here? Like really, really deep questions. I think when everything externally sort of changes and is taken away from you, there's no other way than to go in, because what else can you trust that is not going to change? So all of this became prompts for reflection. And then through that process of really going in, and I think that process, when I try to explain it, and for your listeners to who may want to understand, is it's really a process of coming back to you, to oneself. You know how you call your this is the return project. Is that, and the best way I can explain it is because everything outside is constantly changing, is impermanent, it does not last. The only way is going back in, which is there is something within us that has always been with us since you were a little kid and you look at yourself in the mirror for the first time to now, whatever age you are, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you still look at yourself in the mirror and there's that is the same person there. It's like, so you can trust that. That's there. That's part of you. And you can only sit with that when you intentionally create the time and the space to sit with it. And for me, meditation enabled that space. And I had mentors, I went to retreats to try to access this, to get the guidance as to how to meditate. And yes, I learned my way through, and I gave myself permission to sit with me and with what was there, the emotions and the pain. And what I learned is that, and this is part of the beauty in meditation, is that there is no goal, but just allowing myself to be with whatever my experience was. This is a bit foreign for many people because we are not used to being, we're used to doing, we're always on the go, doing to achieve a goal. The thing is, sometimes by doing so much and kicking goals, we forget to be, and we forget to connect with what's in front of us. And so that's why I think meditation really resonated with me. I needed that space where I could come back to what had always been there and what I knew would continue to be there until my last day on earth. And so when I learned that and went through, allow myself to show up for myself, to check in with myself throughout the years. And I decided that I wanted to teach that to others. I wanted to share this amazing wisdom and gift to those people who were going through difficult situations, transitions, had lost someone, felt overwhelmed in their lives. And so I certified myself. I found one of the best institutions here in Australia, who dedicated, their business vision to really train us to teach this in the best way. And I got certified, and now I do that for a living. So that actually was the catalyst to a big transformation in my life. And I left my corporate job of 23 years. This is only last year. And now I dedicate my energy, time, and focus to help others. Sorry, that was like a long answer.
No, that was fantastic. I want to go back to the space where you were talking about how your marriage dissolved and then shortly after you lost your mother, who was your rock. And I want to dive into, how did you not just get angry in those kind of areas, especially when a relationship crumbles and then you lose someone who's your rock? we tend to go to a place where we could become bitter, angry, resentful. Did you find yourself falling into any of that kind of emotion? And if not, how did you avoid that?
I did. I didn't avoid it. I felt angry. I felt resentful. I had a lot of anger in me, and I said things that I then regretted. I hurt people. I was so angry. I was so angry with the world, with my friends, with my family. Wow, I had forgotten about it. And now that you asked me this question, I go back and yes, there was anger, like this fire within me. And I guess this came and this was triggered by my separation and by all the frustration and all the pain of what that event brought, right? And the pain of saying to my kids, like, mom and dad are not going to be together anymore, and all of that. But then when my mom was sick, the anger was still there, but then it started to get transformed. And I have to say, also with the help of my mom, because she being such an old soul, I call it, and so forgiving, and so she always operated from the heart, that I guess I learned to forgive myself, to forgive those around me who may have hurt me. And I cannot explain it, but there was a moment when I was sitting with my mom in hospital and we were listening to a guided meditation, no joke, the both of us, by Louise Hayes, who you may know who she is. And there was a section in the meditation that talked about forgiveness. And the guy said that when we forgive, we are actually not only releasing the person or the people who hurt us, we are more importantly releasing ourselves, freeing ourselves from the power that this has on us. That just click. That was, sometimes it's the circumstances, it's the space, that I just felt that inside. And I remember my mom and I opened our eyes and we look at each other and I said, that's it. I don't know what happened, but this veil, this weight has been just lifted. And she's like, I get you. I felt the same way. And yes.
It's incredible how people say the power of forgiveness starts in two pieces. There's forgiving somebody else, which starts to lift the weight. The largest weight is truly given when you forgive yourself. When you give yourself that permission to forgive yourself and the other, this weight, as you just talked about, is just lifted off of you. At least in my experience, it actually took me time to understand this, that when I forgave somebody, I still felt a little bit angry. There was still something I was missing. It wasn't until I took the second piece and forgave myself and sat in that the weight truly lifted. You talked about how important in the rock that your mom was. And you've had the first stage that threw life into a little bit of chaos. And then all of a sudden you've lost your mother after she's been so profound in helping you through the first stage. How did that not just throw you completely into derail? How did you manage to take your life and still be productive and do anything? Because I know, especially again from experience, when you lose a loved one, you kind of have a space where, yes, you have to grieve, but it can take years, decades. And sometimes if you're not careful, you'll just sit there.
I feel, and when I've reflected on this, not from the angle that you just asked, but when I look back at the experience, and I grieved from the moment my mom was diagnosed. By the time she passed, I went through a whole through a very powerful deep grieving process. And I knew by the time she passed and she was so much pain and uncomfortable, and that I understood in me, in my heart, that she was bigger than the body that she was in. And so it was okay to sort of now let go, and that, what was left, the body, that wasn't her. She was so much more than that. And through that process, and I think being so compassionate with the situation, with her and myself included, because this is a challenge too, and I feel this and I know this from working with women. We tend to, I'm not saying not for men, but I work mostly with women. We tend to be compassionate towards others, and we don't include that compassion. We don't include ourselves in that field of compassion. So what this process taught me is to, yes, I'm going to include myself. And I think my mom also invited that. And so that she helped me process too. And I remember, because it's such a profound experience, losing someone so important in your life. I mean, the person in my case that loved me the most. Yes, I started going through the loss with her. Also because it's a disease that literally sort of, you see the person, the physical part of the body really, how do you say, just in decline, right? And it was quite quick. So I guess, and I also like to think, Bryan, and I don't want to be blind, is that I have the foundations from coming and being raised in a loving environment, right? And I know from psychology and from learning that this is important too. Like, I had the foundation as a confident little child, like I grew up loved and with healthy boundaries, which also it was a privilege, and also 100% helped me overcome or process this in a more, I guess, I don't like to use positive way, but constructive way. I had some inner tools that were already within from how I grew up. Is this making sense?
It absolutely makes sense. I'm curious to know that in your day-to-day life, do you tend to feel that your mother is still with you?
And yes, I hear her in the bird song. I feel her in my heart. I do journaling as a part of my practice. And sometimes I write letters to my mom and I allow her to just talk to me. Yeah, always. She's such a fundamental part of who I am.
Moving into the space where you started to process life and move forward, and you found yourself learning meditation and opening some new doors, did you start to see that really made drastic changes in your life? And did it change any of your beliefs or your daily routines and habits? How much of an effect did starting something as simple as meditation really snowball into?
Yes, meditation and mindfulness are a lifestyle for me. Is who I am. I embody them, practice them all the time. They just provide, I guess, that framework, I guess, but also space for me to live, experience life. And this happens over time, right? Meditation, guided meditations in the beginning helped me with the pain, with the suffering, with what I was feeling, to help me feel ground, to really help me to be able to not perform, but continue with my life, with the day to day, without crumbling and without being in bed all day, for months and not eating. Not, they just, my guided practice every day became that. But then when I started going to retreats and really started self-guiding myself and taking the space and time to let whatever happened to unfold and sit with the discomfort of not knowing what I was doing, or if I was doing it right. It's okay. I had the guides and the mentors to show me what was happening, or to guide me in that pathway, right? And then I understood a few fundamental concepts, and not only understood, I embody them, they guide my life, I get it. And one of them is life and everything around us, people's circumstances, things, they're impermanent, they don't last, they simply change all the time. So that, to me, it's very important to keep always in mind, because then the second, I think, insight is that our suffering is created by our attachment to people, things, events that inevitably will not last. So if by having those things in mind, what allows me to do is remind myself to understand that to let go, to just allow whatever is unfolding, pleasant or pleasant, enjoy the moment as it is, because its nature is to transform. And so if I'm constant, and I know I'm simplifying it. There's a lot of layers and a path, I guess, practice that needed to then really live with this in my heart center. But when I have this with me all the time, which I try, then I'm constantly checking in and seeing, okay, what is happening now? I'm trying to maintain this joyful moment. I'm trying to hold on to it. I'm starting to wanting to control the people around us so that it lasts, but it's okay. It's okay. I can let go. And so that helps me with how I live my life, and the enjoyment, both to enjoy the moments of happiness, but also to process the moments when I'm feeling really down or sad or uncertain, because I also know they will pass.
Oh, okay. I really want to dig into the lesson deeper because, and I don't know, I'll put it in a slightly materialistic way. But from what I understood there is everything changes, and that we should not hold on to whether it's materialistic items or situations and spaces with all too much emotion, because they will come and they will go. If I had to put it into, I'm going to call this a very metaphorical, very hypothetical sense. This pair of headphones here, I love them to death. They were the best pair of headphones ever. And I was emotionally and physically attached to these headphones. And all of a sudden they died. I would go into anger. I would go into feeling overly emotional. But what I'm understanding is, if I broke it down to a mindset where if I understood that these headphones, they are going to break one day. These headphones, I might lose them one day. And I don't become attached. I enjoy the feeling they give me in the moment, but I don't become attached that when that change happens, when something happens, we don't become angry or we don't lose sight of the moments of joy we had. Am I understanding that correctly, sort of?
You are understanding it very well. And as you were paraphrasing that to me, I may add a couple of two more concepts that are very important. One is, so what you say, that's right. We know they're not gonna last forever. So it doesn't mean you don't enjoy them. You make the most out of them. And so one, it doesn't mean when they get damaged, destroy or die, you're not gonna feel the anger and the sadness. You are going to feel it because you're human. So it's understanding that we are human. And as humans, we come with all of this spectrum of like a variety of emotions, and it's okay. So it's also reminding ourselves to give ourselves grace and give ourselves permission to go through it all. Is fine. Again, they will arise and they will pass. So it's taking everything a bit lightly, not so seriously. And then the second thing is, it is okay also to feel attached to people, to circumstances, because no one has taught us about the nature of life, and or we haven't grown up with teachers showing us how and what life is about. If anything, we've been programmed and taught to feel in a certain way and not to feel sad or depressed or down because there's something wrong with you. So because that's what we told, you need a pill, you need something for it, because there must be something wrong with you, because you always have to feel okay. Actually not. So we are not taught that. So in our minds, in our psyches, like, okay, yeah, when these unpleasant emotions arise, anger, sadness, depression, anxiety, is like, okay, there's something wrong. So we go into like, what's it? No, knowing that this is so normal, this is human, it's okay, it will pass. So do you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's holding all of these concepts sort of in your field of awareness, attention, and then using them to provide a bit of, I guess, inner stability.
Absolutely. What I'm hearing too is that we're creating a space that allows our body to feel its emotions and understand those emotions, and but still not harbor them inside. Instead of holding them inside and creating this weight, we are creating an outer space to understand them, feel them, and acknowledge them. They're no longer weighing on us inside, that we are now putting them out in this space where we are aware of them. We know what they are. We're calling them out. We're still going to go through the motions, whether it's grief, whether it's joy, whether it's sadness, whether it's anger, whether it's ecstaticness of super happiness. We're going to allow ourselves the space, the time, and the outwardness to feel it, instead of, as you were talking about, being so programmed to feel one way. We are now aware of all of these things that, okay, this happened, I'm going to feel this, and then it too shall pass.
It sounds, and I know we say it sounds simple. It's not easy, because when you're in the midst of it, it's scary and it's confusing. And again, just remind ourselves, and this comes with practice too, because the more you sit with your emotions, and I'm talking the unpleasant ones, and meet them and feel them in your body. And you can do this slowly, right? You dip in your food a little bit in your sadness, and then the next day you sit a little bit with it, and then you distract yourself, and then you start building that resilience, right? Yeah, you start getting more acquainted with your strong emotion, and then it loses its grip, and it's not that scary anymore, because you're starting to shine a little light on it, and then more and more, and then you see, oh well, it's not that bad, and it will pass eventually, and you will feel better.
I loved how you put that, because that actually just led right into where my brain was going. I was going to ask you about, how do you not get stuck in the mud, essentially? How do you, that expression, you can wallow in the mud and you get stuck there. But you just kind of described it perfectly. It's not about being stuck there or sitting in the mud. You said you're tipping your toe in and building that resilience little by little.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Little by little, and you show up for yourself little by little, and you listen to yourself. What is it that I need now? Well, I need to really just rest and spend one day in bed, and so you do it. Or what is it that I need now? And you just hold expand that compassion. What will you tell your friend? What will you tell your dear one when they're like that? Bring it back to you. Ask yourself, what do you need right now? We are not used to asking ourselves that question. So you start to develop that habit of checking in, and the more you show up for yourself and look after yourself and give yourself a bit of love, you start also developing that self-trust that no matter what life throws at you, you're going to check in. You're going to give yourself the space to check in with yourself.
Ooh, self check-ins. That is one that I had to work on very hard myself. And self check-ins can be either the best thing you do or the hardest thing you do. Because sometimes checking in with yourself, it really does mean recognizing and realizing where you've slipped up or where you need to maybe change your attitude a little or go back to a habit that you got sloppy on. But also checking in with yourself gives you that space to recognize, look how consistent I've been. Look how far I've come. Look what goals I've accomplished. I do a Sunday self check-in. Every Sunday I sit down and I go through my goals, my plans for the week. I go through my budget. I just do a full scale brain dump self check-in. It's my Sunday ritual.
That sounds fabulous. And how does that feel?
I would recommend doing a Sunday check-in to everybody. If you're out there listening to this, find a day that works for you. Find a day that you can take, it's 20 minutes. 20 minutes in your morning, and just ask yourself some simple questions. Go over whether it's your budget real quick, just make sure you're on track. Your goals for the day, your goals for the week, how far you've come from the week before and what you got done. 20 minutes. And that's a lot. That's a big check-in. It can be as simple as 5 minutes. But a self check-in, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of that is incredible. Do you ever do a self check-in?
Yes, I love what you say because I do that mostly for my business side of things on Sundays. So check in with, the goals, the wins. Normally I find my mind wants to take me to the losses. You know, what I didn't do well, what I didn't complete, then I remind myself it's okay. That's what minds do. But I did have these wins, even if small, they're wins, right? And then I would even suggest, and this is a daily practice, and is checking with yourself daily. And that is more on an emotional level. Is it what do I feel I need right now? You know, what is the voice, that inner voice that sometimes is a whisper with so much noise around us? What does it want? Do I really want to go to that outing, that commitment, or I really feel that I need to rest? It's okay. I can say no. Or what do I really need right now? Is it, whatever it is, but daily also is quite powerful because it allows you that pause in the rush of things. It allows you to sort of make any decisions or adjust based on what's really important to you versus what society expectations or your own impossible high standards are asking of you. The hard part is remembering. But you may do it, you set a reminder in the middle of the day, check in. And I do it physically too. It's like the first trigger for me is like, relax your shoulders, Carolina. And I'm like, okay, relax your shoulders, relax my jaw. And now what is it? What do I need right now? And it could be a minute, just a quick check-in. Okay, I'm okay. Let's keep going. Or no, I'm not. And it comes with time that then is like you're prompted automatically, spontaneously to check in.
I want us to spin back a little bit here. And if there's somebody out there who is finding themselves in the space of whether it's a relationship change, whether it's the loss of a loved one, what would you tell someone as the first piece of advice in starting to make a great shift?
I would say, I know it is hard and it feels really difficult for you right now. And whatever you are feeling, it's okay. It is okay. There's nothing wrong with you. To give yourself permission to feel what it is that you're feeling. You don't need to suppress it. You don't need to distract yourself. You don't need to push it away. It's very uncomfortable, but I promise you it's okay. And I like to say that it's gonna pass. It's not always that. You're not always gonna feel like that. And to give yourself some grace.
This seems like a great space to bring our conversation full circle. And at the end of every one of my podcasts, I like to pose a really deep question. So the question I'm going to throw your way is, what is your definition of truly living your best life?
Living engaged with your experience as it arises. And I don't want to sound like cliche, living in the moment, but this is basically it, is reminding ourselves to be with what's in front of us as many times as we can. And by that, I mean engaging with our senses, with the feelings in our bodies, with our emotions, ongoing, repeatedly, because that allows us to step out of our mind that is normally projecting into the future or reliving the past. And so life happens now in this very moment. And when you have experienced the most amazing moments in your life, when, moments of laughter with your best mates, or seeing the most beautiful sunrise or sunset, or looking at the most beautiful colors or songs, you are in the moment. You were not ticking your to-do list, or you were not stuck reliving, the conversation you had last week. So that's for me, living, your best life is to always reminding yourself to come back to what's here.
Beautiful. Carolina, this has been an amazing conversation, and I know that there's going to be others out there that absolutely resonate with everything that we've just dove into, and that are going to have that strong reminder to live in the moment, feel what you are feeling, and just be there. So thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait for us to connect again and see where you are down the road.
Thank you, Bryan. I hope, this resonates and helps someone. That's all I hope for, that, someone can find a bit of comfort listening to this, or learn something that creates a shift to help them. And it's been a pleasure.
That's a wrap on today's episode. A heartfelt thank you to our guests for showing up with honesty, depth, and wisdom. And thank you for listening in. I hope something in this conversation stirred something in you, a memory, a reminder, or maybe even a return to a part of yourself that's been waiting. If you enjoyed this episode, can I ask a quick 30-second favor? Share it with someone you know, someone who might need to hear this message too. And don't forget to explore past episodes. There's so much more waiting for you there. Until next time, I'm your host, Bryan White, and this is The Return Project.